What's up, everyone? You're listening to the unscripted, unfiltered, 100% authentic podcast. I'm your co host, Michael. Joining with me is, of course, the amazing co host of Miss Jamie and our wonderful guest. And if you have not listened to the nearest show of the Fan Attic, he just dropped it earlier today. And yours truly is on there talking everything Oklahoma. And more importantly, not just that, but if you're living in the state of Oklahoma, hey, I got something on an upset alert that hey, you Sooner fans really need to listen to, and I'm hoping I don't lose your support by the end of tonight. So, anyway, the host of the Fan Attic, my boy, Coach Isaiah, Coach, welcome to the air raid.
What's going on, Mike? What's going on, Jamie?
Welcome to the show, Coach.
Hey, glad to be here, man. I had Mike on a couple of times. Yeah, we dropped that video this morning, man. I'm telling you, OU fans are out and about, all in the comments, man. It is like I gotta shout out to OU fans, man. They coming hard.
One thing that we are good at is it's funny, but it's true. One thing that we are good at is making Twitter Spaces during the Lincoln Riley news, and we like to troll others, but nonetheless, we are good on social media. If anything else, we may not get a playoff win, but hey, nonetheless, we're good on social media.
Hey, I'm thankful for it. I'm getting the views, man. Hey, like I say, they all in the comments, man. I like it. So it's been a good show so far.
Very nice. And first things first, Coach I, tell us a little about yourself, and of course, as I do on your show, but you're welcome to, of course, let everyone know about the Fan Attic.
All right, man. Yeah, man. It's Coach I from the Fanatic, man. They call me Coach I. I used to coach high school basketball and AAU basketball. I had to give it up because the parents got too uh, demanding about their kids playing time, and I don't do coach speak, so it wasn't a good combination. So, nevertheless, I started the channel to talk some sports. Started out just interviewing a lot of my former players because a lot of them played different levels of college basketball, football. Some even made it to the pro level. So, and then I got on to talking college football, man. So that's what we do now, man. We talk college football. I went to the University of Georgia. Was fortunate enough to be there at the same time. Kirby Smart was our starting free safety. So I'm a little bit dated that way. So now I
That's pretty cool.
talk all things college football and love doing it, man. So I'm glad y'all have me on, man.
I
Well,
gotta completely understand, Coach I, about the parents thing. I coached gymnastics for a long time, and it's a whole other level dealing
Listen,
with
man.
parents and their children
Exactly, man.
when it comes to elite sports like that. Ugh,
Most of the problems stem because parents are not realistic about their
yep.
child's talent. If you
100%. And then you're all
exact
of a sudden the bad guy.
is you're always the bad guy. It doesn't
Yep.
matter. Like I saw this thing on Facebook, man. Like like with football and basketball, it's always like who's starting, who's your starting five, who's the starting quarterback or whatever. And I saw this thing on Facebook said it was an AAU coach, basketball coach. He said parents kept complaining, so one game he sent all 10 players out there on the court to start, and the referee was like, "Hey man, you can only start five," and he was like, "Yeah, I know." He's like, go ahead with the game. And he's like, nah, if you keep these kids out here, you're going to get a technical foul for however many you got over five. He was like, that's my starters, all 10. And he gave him a tech for everybody over five. And he turned to the parents. He said, I told y'all, everybody can't start.
Wow, that's genius.
Oh, I'm telling you, man. So, parents, I get it. You love your kids, man,
Yep.
but you gotta be honest with yourselves. So
Yeah, I think a lot of parents unfortunately live vicariously through their children, and
true.
that pushes some of the buttons and whatnot.
Hey,
It,
we saying it with the transfer portal. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Yep.
not saying that all like a lot of these situations people transfer is what they need to do, but some just do not. Like if you play quarterback, I understand because there's only one quarterback. But if you play wide receiver, man, and you like number five and you mad because you ain't number two, like come on, bro. Like I don't want to hear
Mhm.
that.
When it goes with that participation trophy, and I guess that's where times change. Growing up, we never had participation trophies. It was either first, second, or third. If you were fourth and
Mm-hmm.
below, you didn't get nothing.
And
And I
we
don't
was
care what
cool with
sport it
that though.
was.
We was cool with
Exactly.
that.
Exactly. I mean, if
You
hey,
want to
I
be on,
finished
you want to be on the podium? Work harder.
exactly. I
Exactly.
mean, my
Like I
high school team, we literally during my tenure, we didn't win a single game except for we literally played the Oklahoma School of Death.
okay.
Whatever. But it's interesting football nonetheless. But but I mean, we weren't good, and that's perfectly fine if we finished eighth in our division. I'm not asking for a participation trophy. We sucked. But
Listen,
nowadays, you got to give out participation trophies to the first and second and third and fourth and fifth and sixth. And it's like, and
Everybody
and
gets a
see,
trophy.
they
yeah,
think.
exactly.
I just
We
feel
need
like
Oprah.
society thinks that only affects
Yep.
people's good confidence in sports, but that goes. Listen, man, I can go on and on about that. It goes so much further in life when you tell
Yes.
your kids that every time they do something they're gonna be successful. Like, no, man. Like, I mean, if we think about it, not to be on a negative note, but if you think about like suicide rate in young people
Yep.
is higher than it's ever been. It's
Yes.
because they don't know how to fail because
You
their
don't know how to
parents won't let
fail.
them fail. Like, it's
You
not that
learn
way,
more from
man.
failing. You
Hey,
learn
man.
way more from failing than you do
Exactly.
from succeeding.
Listen, some people run faster than others. That's just what it is.
No, we can't all be Simone Biles. Like that's
Exactly.
just not.
Exactly.
Exactly. Like your daughter can't do what she can do. Stop trying to make her that.
And trust me, if I thought your daughter could do it, she would. She can do. I would tell you. I would be
Listen,
110%, and I would be
God,
like, she has the ability. She has the work ethic. Yes, go for it.
dang,
Have
Jamie,
her put herself to gymnastics.
I am so with you. Like I don't know if parents don't understand. Coaches want to win, so
Yep.
why would we put the best people out there?
I don't know. It's insanity to me.
Oh God.
You learn. I mean, I learned so much about myself and just how to handle people, just because parents are nuts.
Yes,
Hmm.
yes.
And you have
Listen.
to. I mean, you've got to. Man, if there's ever a time where you can't take stuff personally, that's that situation.
Yeah. Hey, on a positive note, at least they show up. So that's all.
That's you know, there is something to be said. At least they care, right? At
At
least
least they care. Maybe too much, but at least they care.
all right. All right, back on track.
All
No,
right,
you're
yeah.
good. Of course, something that wasn't going to be discussed until it broke news earlier, and kind of want to get both of your thoughts on this one, which I thought was interesting on the way home, listening to it, on the local radios, was sports radios. The presidents and chancellors who make up the college football playoffs board of managers held a brief discussion on today, of course, talking about how they're going to operate moving forward. Major college football operating under a governance structure, literally at this point, they're trying to get to where they can get out of the NCAA and running it, literally running it themselves.
I'll let
Coach
you
I, of
take that.
course, you're the wonderful guest.
Oh,
What's
okay.
your first thoughts on this one?
Hey man, I think it is inevitable to happen. NCAA right now only they only
Mhm.
make sure you're eligible to play. That's really all the NCAA does for
Yep.
college sports. So and then when you got the transfer portal where it is NIL, you got to have some kind of governing body. Every team is trying to move to every conference. Somebody's got to put
Hmm.
the gavel down, man, and say, "Hey, this is what we're going to do." It's like nobody wants. It goes back to what we say, the whole participation trophy.
Yep.
Nobody wants to say no, you can't do that. Like, and we need somebody to say,
Somebody's got to do. Yeah.
yeah. So somebody's got to do it. So I think it's a good idea and a step in the right direction.
So let me ask you a secondary question then. Do you have any thoughts on who that person, a so-called college football commissioner, would be?
Mm, I don't know because everybody's gonna have. It's kind of like
Hmm.
college football playoffs. I think you need a committee, and
Yep.
maybe you have a chairperson so that they can run the meetings or whatever. But
Mhm.
I don't know if any one person should have more say so because everybody's got bias. So it's always gonna
Hmm.
be,
Yep.
like when they first said the college football playoff committee was gonna be like athletic directors and presidents. I'm like, bro, like I don't care if I'm the president of freaking Northwestern Utah State or if
Yep.
that's even a college. Like I'm in there voting for my school. So I
Exactly.
mean,
Exactly.
Come on now.
I'm I'm like, did you see that 10 points we put up on the school of deaf and blind? Like, but I think it needs to happen, and I don't know who it should be, but I think it should be a body of people that can make it happen. And you're gonna have to, if we're gonna have conferences, it's got to be representation from each conference, regardless of how many championships that the conference has won lately or whatever, because you got to keep it fair. I'm all about fairness. So.
And I think that's the big thing. I feel the same way you do. This has been a long time coming. It should have happened. It's been, especially over the last 5 to 10 years. It was always going in this direction.
Mm-hmm.
I think it should be. I think you have maybe obviously one guy that's the commissioner, but you've got a board that represents all the major conferences. And you run things that way. I mean, can you imagine how much smoother the whole COVID debacle would have been had they have had an actual governing body saying, no, you're going to do this. This is the deadline. You're either going to play. This is how many conference games you're going to play. I mean, and it goes back to just how conference scheduling is now. You've got people playing cupcakes the 8th week in November, but then you also have conferences playing 9 conference games, and it's so all over the place. There's no standard, there's no consistency across the board, and it's been a long time coming, especially with the direction that you've got basically super conferences now. You've got the Big Ten and you've got the SEC as the premier conferences, and in order to keep the landscape of college football that we've all grown to love and adore and appreciate, you really do need to institute something like that, because let's be honest, the NCAA has been worthless for quite a long time.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like submit your eligibility when you're a high school senior, and once you're eligible, that's the NCAA. They're done. It's like, we don't
unless
care.
You have too many coaches at a practice, then that's an issue.
And God forbid a coach texts or put something on social media outside of their NCAA window and whatever. I'm like, come on, man. We're letting people they was letting people really, it really got out of hand when it was before the one-time transfer rule.
Yeah.
And it was letting people just make up excuses on why they wanted to transfer. I'm like, come on, man. Like, y'all. And then you deny somebody who had a legitimate reason, like, you have a kid move back home because the grandma's sick, but you won't let him play it right away. But then another person say, I don't feel like I'm being treated fairly, and you let him play immediately. It's like, like you said, you got to have some guidelines, you know what I'm saying? Something like the 9 conference games. Like, SEC doesn't play 9 conference games, but the Big 12 does. And then it's like, so how do you say, their strength of schedule, SEC strength of schedule is harder because they got Bama and Georgia on it? Well, the Big 12 has an extra conference game, and I don't care what team it is in the conference. Conference opponents know you, so that makes it a harder game.
Correct. Is the SEC the only one that has only 8?
No, Clemson, the ACC only has 8.
Okay, that's right. That's right. Of course. Of course it would be. Wow. If any conference could. Never mind. I won't go there. That's not nice.
The all cake conference, as we in the SEC call it.
100%. It's definitely that.
Oh, no, I got love for the ACC, man. I live in South Carolina, so I have to hear it all the time.
It's a beautiful country down there. It's beautiful, but yeah, as far as what's strength of opponent.
Yeah. Clemson is the elite team, and then everybody else is just kind of grasping the straws. You got NC State when they have like 3 and 4 year starters. That third, fourth year, just like this year, they'll be pretty good. They can't sustain that though because they don't get enough recruits. I don't know what Miami's got going on down there. They're always back, kind of like Texas, until I see it. My brother's a diehard Miami fan, and he even tells me that. He's like, I want people to stop saying we're back. So outside of those two, you got Pitt. Pitt's respectable, but I don't think anybody's, like, oh my God, we scheduled Pitt. How are we gonna win? So You guys assume hear a lot of that hate coming from the ACC when Oklahoma joins the SEC, because ACC people hate the SEC.
Yeah, I'm looking forward, of course, to Oklahoma going to the SEC, and regardless if we compete or not, it's going to be hard to tell. But no, I'm sure there's gonna be a lot more hate. But what I like about this, at least it might stir up some more rivalries. Maybe so much, I like to see Oklahoma, Arkansas kind of do something just because it's the
Yeah.
border, and I'm not really worried about Missouri. But I'm sure Texas A&M will be right back to their days. So we'll see. Of course, Oklahoma's gotta survive the Big 12 for the last year or two, whatever it might be. So it's gonna be fun. But no, I'm sure there's a lot of. I'm sure they love to talk, and I'm sure we'll hear about it.
Right, you get a lot of hate just because you're like I'm not even one of those guys that's like SEC SEC. I could care less if Florida wins any games.
Yeah,
I don't care
I,
who. Matter of fact,
I am also an LSU fan. I don't know if you knew that or not,
no,
but yeah, I'm the same way. I'm like, man, no, I don't want anybody to win.
no, not unless you tell me their win helps Georgia get to the
Hmm.
national championship. That's
Yes,
the only. And I still might have a problem rooting for them because like I'm rooting for Utah to beat Florida. Actually, I hate Florida. I don't want Florida to win anything. So
everybody hates Florida.
but anytime you're an SEC school, I'm telling you, you guys, if you haven't already got it, you're gonna get it from the Pac-12, the Big Ten, the ACC. They're just like, oh, you SEC people are all the same. It's like, can't we just have good teams? Like
No,
Oklahoma's a big brand. Like you don't need the SEC to be a big brand. I think you guys are competing in the SEC because it's Oklahoma. I mean,
Hmm.
I agree.
so
No, and
No, I
Brent
think
Venables is doing
um,
well recruiting already.
yeah.
yeah, I think Texas is going to have a tougher time
Hmm.
than
I think
Oklahoma.
so. I think so
Yep.
because Texas, first of all, they had a fight in recruiting. You know what I'm saying? Texas A&M, regardless of how they doing it, they're getting whoever they want. You know what I'm
Uh-huh.
saying? I just think, like I say, Oklahoma's out in that area geographically, but I don't think they have anybody to, like if you're a kid in Texas and you try to say, hey, come to Texas, put on for your state. Well, Texas A&M can say the same thing, and Baylor can say the same thing. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of hard. It's like I think Oklahoma will probably do better, at least earlier than Texas will.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree with that.
I could see that, and I think a key thing for Texas, whereas really, and I know I brought it up last night on last night's episode with Lawrence, but and I might pick your brain too, Coach I is Arch Manning. I really still have that feeling that he's going to decommit. Any vibes from on your personal side? I mean, obviously it's a personal opinion. I just
Yeah.
got that vibe that I could see him decommitting before national signing day in February.
I think a lot of things are at play there. When it comes to recruiting, man, I've been fortunate enough, like I say, to coach some kids who play college and follow their recruiting. Couple, and my nephew, both my nephews played. I got one getting recruited now. So I just think a lot of things come to play, and I'm with you. I definitely don't think it's a lock. Let's just say that. I
No.
don't. I
Yeah,
don't know if I had to put percentages on it. I'd say he's 70% committed to Texas, which is a good
Mm-hmm.
odds for Texas. But you never know what's true, what you hear. But I've heard a lot of stuff that Georgia was right there with Texas. It
yep,
was a couple people say, and it makes sense that Georgia winning the national championship may have hurt because kind of like Eli wanted to do something different than Peyton. Peyton wanted to do something different than
correct.
Archie,
Yeah,
Arch, the grandson, now wants to do something
Mm-hmm.
different than all of them. They like, well, Texas is trying to come back. What if I'm the guy to bring him back? But what if Quinn Ewers, leads him to a BCS game? I don't think so. But what if he does? I don't know. Arch, I got to see him in person. He's every bit of what 6'5", 6'4", whatever
Mm-hmm.
it is. He's got a
oh yeah,
cannon for an
he's the
arm.
real deal, man. I mean, there's no
Yes.
doubt about that.
And I met Cooper. Cooper absolutely loves Athens. So Kirby's not. I can guarantee you, Kirby's still recruiting him. So I think either them or maybe even Bama. I mean, you never can count Nick Saban out.
No,
So
no.
I'm like y'all. I don't think it's 100% done.
I can tell you, the only place he's not going is LSU. And I hate to say that, but like, you hear all this stuff about like obviously the Mannings live there,
Yeah.
like so but you hear all this stuff about how they just really don't support LSU athletics, and it is what it is,
Yeah.
but I can see why Arch would want to, make his own way and do
Yeah.
something different. And Texas was kind of a surprise. I mean, I understand like Sark obviously, but I just think that there would be a better place for him.
Yeah,
But
I think Sark played a big role in it. The way he's,
yeah,
like at least five of Sark's past quarterbacks have played in the NFL,
right.
at one point or another. So, as a quarterback, why not? It's like people ask, like, God, Georgia always getting 5 stars on defense. Well, why not play for the
Well, of
guy
course
that's always
they
putting
Hmm.
people in the league for
Exactly.
defense? I mean,
have you seen the defenders of Georgia?
so from, from that aspect, I get it. Sark's a quarterback, supposedly guru. We'll see what he does with Quinn Ewers. I mean, they're high on him as well. So I just don't think it. Like I say, until you get that facts on signing day, it is
Yep.
never over. And like I said, if I had to put numbers on it, about 75 at best that he committed because they like the stability at Bama and Georgia.
Yeah.
And they like both the coaches and the NFL pedigree. I mean, not for nothing, Texas hasn't put that many NFL people, none last year, into the draft.
They
So
had zero.
zero. Yeah, I didn't even know that until I had some Texas fans on my show. I was like, God, y'all didn't have not one draft pick.
Oh, I knew
Jesus.
it. I knew it. I knew it. I knew it during the draft because I love to hate Texas.
I think we all do.
It's a nice hobby of mine.
I know Texas is starting to become like Notre Dame because their
Hmm.
fans think they're better than they
Oh,
are, and then the rest of the nation just like, nah, you're not that
nah,
good, bro.
nah.
Speaking of Georgia, and I know that you are a UGA alum,
Mm-hmm.
Coach I is. What's your thoughts? Obviously, you're probably more dived in when it comes to the Bulldog program. What's your thoughts on the 2022 Georgia team? Of course, Kirby Smart going into his seventh season. Of course,
Mm-hmm.
one of the best coaches out there. Still a talented team. They got that national championship, but it's hard to repeat. And if you're Georgia, it's going to be even harder this year simply because of how many people went to the draft this past in April. What's your outlook on Georgia? And kind of give us a personal, your own opinion of what the expectations. I mean, obviously winning the national championship, but what's your expectations for Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs heading into 2022?
We did lose a lot to the draft. I mean, 15 total. Everybody knows that, 8 off of the defense. But what's crazy is people don't talk about the special teams and the offense. We lost 7. As far as draft picks, not all of those people, those 15 were starters. For 2022, I think we're gonna get back to the SEC championship. I think we'll go like 11-1.
Hmm.
I don't know who. Like if you just look at it individually, individual games, then you say, well, that team's not better than Georgia. But it takes more than just being better than somebody on paper to win, and it's hard to go 12-0, like extremely hard. So, where a game falls on the schedule matters. We have a rough. I would say if any part of our schedule is rough by themselves, people will say, "Well, that game's not rough." But if you look at it, we go Florida, Tennessee,
Yeah.
Mississippi State, and Kentucky. All 4 teams that with the right motivation, right things happen, they could, trip Georgia up if that's right around the time the college football playoff,
Hmm.
rankings come out, these 18 to 22-year-olds looking to see they number 2, number
Mm,
3, number 1, and then let it get to their head, thinking they can't be beat, whatever, that happens. But I got them losing to Alabama in the SEC championship, and depending on what everybody else does in the nation, that'll determine whether they make it to the college football playoff. Because I don't know what Clemson's offense is going to look like. If they
Right.
go undefeated in the ACC, which is highly possible,
Hmm.
that's an undefeated team. You look at Alabama, I got them going undefeated. That's an undefeated team. I don't think anybody in the Big Ten is beating Ohio State.
No,
So
no.
then it just, you got a number of other players out there. Like I'm high on Utah. If Utah can
Hmm.
get past Florida and don't trip up like they did last year in the Pac-12.
mm-hmm.
College football playoff committees, I think they're itching to put a Pac-12 team in there. Nobody just wants to step up to the plate and take the invitation. So
No, it's
I think
like hot potato, and everybody wants to drop the potato on the ground every.
Hmm.
exactly. As far as how the team itself will look, last year everybody knows about the defense. One thing I do want to tell people about the defense, though, like Kirby Smart is always going to have a good defense. In 2018 and 19, we were top 10 defense.
Yeah.
It just wasn't like generational like you saw last year. And crazy thing is, going into last year, we only returned 4 starters. That's what a lot of people don't know. Now
Yeah.
we don't have a Jordan Davis, so
No.
we definitely do not have a Jordan Davis. So we don't have a N'Kobe Dean because N'Kobe was a starter. Channing Tindall and Quay
Kindle.
Walker, they
Ugh,
was neither one of those were starters, but they had a lot of game time experience.
correct.
So last year when they started, so technically last year we had the same amount of starters returning, but we had a lot more experience. This year we're breaking in 2 new middle linebackers.
Yeah.
And under Kirby Smart, that has been the position to hold the defense, like the glue to the defense. I mean, we had N'Kobe last year with Channing and Quay, and then the year before that, we had N'Kobe and Money Rice, who's playing in the league, and then before that, we had the Butkus Award, Roquan. It's like one after the other, one
Yeah.
after. It's like one after the other. And now
Hate it.
now we got two young guys who super talented, super athletic, but they've only played in mop up duty, not like the Channing Tindall, Quay Walker, where you would
Yeah.
come in like on third downs and things of that nature. So that's where I'm looking. If there's gonna be a weakness on the defense, it's that middle linebacker, just because of the experience. I think the talent is there, but one false step one way, you got a running back going for 20, 30 yards down
Yep.
down the other
Got
sideline. So
backers out of position and not covering you've got problems, and that happens sometimes with young linebackers. Until they
exactly,
get a little bit of experience, they're the heart of the defense. They run the defense,
they
uh,
do.
and it hurts when you don't have those kind of guys back
And
there.
exactly. And if you don't have the guys, like we have guys up front, again, Jalen Carter is probably, I would say, arguably the best interior defensive lineman in the country. But we got some unexperienced guys around him, and those guys make it easier for the linebackers. So last year, even if N'Kobe wasn't an All American linebacker, Jordan Davis, Trayvon Walker, Devontae Wyatt, they all made his job easier
Right.
by eating up blocks. I mean, Jordan Davis at times was taking up 2 and 3 linemen. So the Kobe just running out there. He ain't even got nobody to hit. He don't even know where to go. He's just like it's all open out here.
Let me
So
hit somebody.
yeah, just go hit somebody. So I think it'll be in reverse though, like how last year our offense was super efficient. Like we averaged like over 35 points a game, but they were efficient in cohesion with the defense. How good the defense. I think it's going to be a
But I
flip
thought
flop.
Georgia didn't have an offense.
Right, that's what they sell it. That's what they be trying to sell it to everybody. I
That's what
mean,
everybody said.
we
Every
just
every day in spaces,
that's
Georgia doesn't have
it,
an offense. I was like, well, then you
exactly.
haven't watched Georgia play football because they obviously have an offense.
And it's the thing is, people don't even like. That's what I'm saying. Like people, like it's like they look at it and they see this great defense. It's like, well, the offense is Stetson Bennett. Of course, it's just like looking at Kentucky and saying Kentucky's not a good football program. Like it's because of the name Kentucky. If they had on red and black and had a G on their helmet, you'd be like, oh, that's one of the best teams in the nation. But our offense was good last year. Now, granted, I'll admit, at the beginning of the season, I was not sold on Stetson. I wanted JT to stay healthy because in the beginning
Yeah.
games, we would see JT come in and the offense just moved so much smoother and more wide open, I should say. So it was a
Yeah.
different style. But Stetson won us all over. It's like, and in the championship game, we all knew Stetson. I was like, man, Stetson go out here trying to give the game away, and then he turned the ball over. But then he comes back and he's throwing lasers on the touchdown drive, and he stands in there and shows that he's matured. So I'm
Yeah.
like, people that say we don't have an offense, I'm like, if that was the case, Clemson's defense was ranked in the top 5 last year. But they struggled all year because they didn't have an offense to move the ball. So even if you have a dominant defense, you still got to put the ball in the end zone. So
Right. You still got to score points.
you do, and all of our offense comes back except for, of course, George Pickens. But George Pickens literally didn't play any meaningful downs aside of
No.
like 3 downs in the championship game.
Right.
So not acting like I would love to have him back, but he didn't really contribute to the national championship run. You know what I mean?
Right. You definitely had other guys in there. And honestly, nobody has tight ends like you guys have tight ends.
Oh no.
I mean,
Listen.
I mean, shit, they're all wide receivers. Like, let's be honest here. Like, they're all wide receivers running out there, and they're big. I mean,
They
like,
are. They
Darnell
are like
is
this.
freaking a monster. Gilbert's huge. Bowers is probably the smaller of the 3, but I mean, it's insanity.
It is. Browers is literally physically the smallest tight end that we have.
Yeah.
He's like 6'4", 240 something, and he runs like a 4'4". So he runs like you say. He runs like a wide receiver. He runs routes like a wide
Hmm.
receiver. And then the guy we got last year, who was the number one tight end in the nation, Oscar Delp, is. I mean, for all practice, in practice now, he hasn't played a down. He looks just like Bowers. It's like he's a little bit taller, a little bit slimmer, but he can move just like Bauer. So I don't know if he'll get to play because we got so many weapons. Uh, Honestly, Todd Monken, I don't envy him. Like trying to get everybody to try. I mean, with the transfer portal, think about it, man. Like if you ain't getting the ball like 1 or 2 seasons in a row, you out of here. And
Yeah.
it's
Yep.
good to have a lot of skilled players, but could be bad, for the next year as well. So I think our offense will carry our team. It'll be hard to stop them. I think they'll average closer to 40, and our offense will be our best defense. Like kind of like Oklahoma under
Hmm.
Riley. Like they didn't have
Yep.
a great defense, but Riley scored so many points. It put pressure on the other team to score. So now they're like thinking out of character. It's like, we got to keep up with these
Hmm.
guys. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Instead of sticking to the game. Listen, scoring 2 or 3 touchdowns in a row can make coaches get out their game plan real quick.
No, and it's going to help you guys out as well this year with Georgia. The fact that you got three of the five back on the offensive line, and I believe Jones, I think it's named Jones, is I believe he
Broderick Jones.
played. Yep, he played.
He started.
What towards the latter, towards the end?
He
I know
actually
he started in the national title game.
He actually started the last 4 games, and Jamari Sawyer played the left tackle the beginning part of the season because we didn't have another one with experience, just a whole bunch of young guys. But then he moved inside in the SEC championship to play that
Yep.
that guard spot. And Broderick Jones came in as the number one tackle in his class, and Amirius Mims, who he was
Hmm.
about to transfer to Florida State. I don't know what happened when he went to Tallahassee, but he turned around and came back to Athens. So he was in the portal for about 2 weeks, and then that was it. So, but yeah, we got to replace those guard spots. That's what I'm
Yep.
interested to see, especially in this first game against Oregon, because Dan
Hmm.
Lanning loves to blitz his linebackers, and they
Uh,
have two of the best in the
that-
nation. Justin Flo and Noah Sewell are the real deal. So I'm interested to see how those guards handle that. So if there was a weakness on offense, I would say it's the guards and how they're going to protect the quarterback.
Now, I would say if I were Munkin, I would probably. I mean, I'd probably put all my tight ends out on the field and have
Oh,
one in the
Hmm.
slot, one back there. Like I believe Darnell's probably the better blocker of all of them, so
you
probably
got it.
keep him in that capacity if he's smart. That's what I would do. And you know what? The best thing when you've got blitzes, run right at him,
That's right.
run the
That's
ball
Hmm.
right.
right at him.
I feel like if they're sending Noah Sewell and Justin Flo, then nobody's covering Brock
Yep.
Bowers and Darnell Washington. So
You can
unless
vote.
you trying to check them with a nickel back or a safety, it's not going to work. And you are absolutely correct. Darnell Washington is not just one of the better. He's not just the best tight end blocker on our team. He's like one of the best blockers on the team.
Yeah.
Last year at the beginning of the year, we kind of struggled in the run game, not just against Clemson, who had a great defense, but we struggled in the second and third game, and then against Arkansas, Darnell came back, and then people was like, "Oh, Georgia found their running game." No, Darnell Washington was hurt, so
Yep.
he's back now.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Like
So
you guys started a little slow last year, but that was just because you had a ton
Hmm.
of injuries.
and
You
yeah, but nobody talks about it. They just like, "Oh, y'all played a Clemson team who was sorry." I'm like, first of all, Clemson was healthy when they played us, and
Uh-huh.
I don't take anything from Clemson. Clemson's a
No.
good program, you know what I'm saying? They great defense, but I'm like, we started three people as pass catchers who had never played a
Mm-hmm.
college football game ever. Lad McConkey started at wide
McCon- yeah,
receiver.
that's right.
A.D. Mitchell, Lad McConkey was a redshirt freshman who had never played, and
Yeah.
then you had A.D. Mitchell, a true freshman at wide receiver, he was our top wide receiver in that game, and Brock Bowers, I'm like a true freshman tight end.
Mhm.
So, not to mention we lost our right guard the
Hmm.
first series of the game,
Yeah.
so we had a guard who had never played, any meaningful snap. So, but people see what they want to see. I think our offense is going to be good. Unless a rash of injuries comes, I think our offense is going to be a spectacle this year.
Yeah, I would agree.
Any concern on your end that you guys face, of course, at Oregon team with Dan Lanning as a new head coach? Of course, obviously familiar with what Georgia does. Any concern that we could see an upset by the Ducks?
I mean, anything can happen. The Ducks went to the Horseshoe last year
Mm-hmm.
without Kayvon and gave
Mhm.
gave
Yep.
them the business. I'm not saying they blew them out, but I think they definitely owned the game. So the Ducks are definitely gonna be ready to play. I think Landon is gonna know some of what Kirby wants to do or what Monken wants to do because he practiced
Right.
against him for 3 straight years, so he should.
Mhm.
There's so many call names you can change to get ready for the game, but I think ultimately, top to bottom, we have a better roster. Dan Lanning like I say, knows Kirby and Monken, but they also know Dan Lanning as well. So
Correct.
just like I know I've heard a lot of shows, ESPN, others say, "Well, Dan Lanning knows what they're gonna do." I'm like, "Well, Kirby taught Dan Lanning how to call defense, so he knows what Dan Lanning is gonna do."
Never know.
So I was like, the difference is Todd Monken's calling with a whole bunch of people that know his offense.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys don't know Dan Lanning's defense, and I know they had spring practice and fall camp. But I told somebody today, I was like, you gotta. It was a guy it was an Oklahoma fan. He was like, we're going 11-1. No way we're losing to
No
Baylor.
way.
It was
No.
after watching the video, and I was like, I'm not saying you are. I'm like, I'm just saying that these first time coaches, people need to
Yeah.
temper their expectations because there's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
learning to do when a new coach comes into town. This is not like when Lincoln Riley took over because he was already there. So literally, it was just like Bob Stoops wasn't at
Yeah.
practice. That's
Yep.
all
Yeah.
it was.
I mean, yeah, totally different situation.
It's just like Ryan Day at Ohio State. It was just like
Yeah.
Urban Meyer just wasn't at practice. So it's like
Of course, there was a smooth transition with that situation.
yeah, and I think Brent Venables is going to do wonders because, for one, he's already did a stint at Oklahoma, so he knows the culture. He is Oklahoma to me. I know he was at Clemson for a while, but I'm older, so I've always seen Brent Venables as an
Oh,
Oklahoma guy.
absolutely.
I agree.
Anyway, so I think he'll bring them, keep them. I'm not gonna say bring them back, keep y'all, where in the elite status, but there's gonna be a transition period. Like Lincoln Riley, he didn't care about defense; he just care about scoring. Like Brent Venables cares a lot about defense. So
Yeah.
the defensive players for Oregon is going to be the same thing. Dan Lanning cares way more about defense than Cristobal. Cristobal cared about defense, but not like Dan Lanning. And then Dan Lanning has to get used to being a CEO. Now he has to worry about what the offense is actually doing, and not. At Georgia, he was paid to stop the other team. That's it. Stop
Yes.
the other team, go home, have fun with your family. Like now, you got to worry about what the special teams is doing. What do you do on 3rd and 7 on the 42? Do you try to go for it? I mean, 4th and 2 on the 32. You try to go for it. Do you kick the long field goal? Do you, it's like those things play a part. And it showed when Kirby Smart had an excellent career at Alabama. Excellent. Came to
Absolutely.
Georgia. Mark Rick won 10 games the last 2 out of the 3 years that he was there. And
Mhm.
Kirby came in, went 8-5 and lost to Georgia Tech, which Kirby, I'm still holding you to that one. The
Yeah,
national championship made up for it a
really
little
happy
bit.
about that one.
The national championship made up for it a little bit, but we still shouldn't be losing the Tech. But that's what I'm saying, though. It took a while and those players were experienced players that he took over. Nick Chubb was a junior. Sonny Michelle
Right.
was a junior. Eason was a freshman, but we had the other guy. I forget whoever took his position, but we had a lot of people on defense that were like sophomores and juniors, and he still went 8-5 with not a hard schedule either. I think we got blew out by Ole Miss that year by like 35.
Out.
So yeah, I think Oregon has some talent, and I think they can give us a decent game. But ultimately, I'm thinking it's gonna be like a 14 point plus game. I mean, I think at the end of the day, man, we've done it before. We don't have a lot of new pieces at all. Like we have no transfer or true freshmen in our starting too deep on either side of the ball, and you got that plays a part as well. So that means that everybody's been there and knows the system. You know what I'm saying? So even the linebackers that I mentioned, they've been there. They just hadn't played. So I
Right.
think we'll edge them out with experience.
Real quick, and of course, we'll talk USC, UCLA going to the Big Ten.
Mm-hmm.
How are you guys experience wise? Do you have any juniors or seniors this year on Georgia? The reason why I ask is because Georgia comes to Norman next year on September 9th. So I just need to know what we're looking at. I know we're still a year away, but I need to know. We're a young team, so at least I know we're pretty solid. But I just need to know what's coming. What's from Athens? What's coming to Norman next year?
So on offense, Darnell will be gone. This is me thinking these guys will be gone to the
Right,
to the
right.
league. Darnell will be gone. If Eric Gilbert holds true to form, it only takes 1 year when you're at the right school. And I think he could legit be gone. So
He
it'll
has
just
the
be
talent, 100%.
yeah.
He's just gotta, yeah.
Unfortunately,
He's got it.
unfortunately for y'all, Brock Browse is a true sophomore, so he has no choice but to be there. I think if our running backs stay healthy, both could legit be gone. Kendall Milton is a true junior.
Hmm.
He could be gone. Kenny McIntosh is a true senior, and he still has this so-called COVID year. So, but I think if they both stay healthy, they'll be gone. So you'll be looking at two fresh running backs. So on the offensive side, man, honestly, we could be losing like at least like the defense did last year. We could lose like seven. AD Mitchell's still going to be there. Lad McConkey's still going to be there. Technically, Lad could go to the league this year after this year, but I don't think he will. I think unless he has like double what he had last year, because his measurables just aren't there. He's a really short guy, so I think he needs more film than those guys that are 6'4" or whatever. Defensively, Jalen Carter will be gone, unfortunately for us.
Yep.
Linebacker, the middle linebackers will still be there. Nolan Smith and Robert Beal, the two projected starting outside linebackers, gone. They're both redshirt seniors. Chris Smith, our starting safety, gone. We will be younger next year. I can tell you that. Keely Ringo is
Well for you all.
Keely Ringo is a true junior. He's like first team all preseason All American. Unless he gets hurt, he's gone. Yeah. So the good thing, hey, hopefully we'll blow some people out this year and get these backups some experience. We did have our best defensive back class ever last year. We had 5 DBs and 4 of those, I guess, were 5 stars. So hopefully they don't transfer out and get a lot of experience coming into Norman, man. So I'm hoping to make the trip.
That'd be nice. I would love to attend it. Hopefully, it will happen. We got new LED lights, and hey, Brent
Okay.
Venables is he's trying to upgrade the stadium, so I'll give him that. He's already making some improvements. But of
That's good.
course, UCLA, USC. What was your first thoughts as we head down the slope on the show? What's your first thoughts on when USC, UCLA broke news they are leaving the Pac-12? Of course, Lincoln Riley this time can't leave USC, but what's your first thoughts on that news when that broke out?
Man, anytime I hear stuff like that, I always think fan first,
Hmm.
not like my team, but I'm like, God, it's gonna be a lot of traveling.
Uh-huh.
It's like it's gonna be a lot of traveling. I know people say, well, the NFL does it. Well, the NFL doesn't have class. It's like
Exactly.
That's literally
NFL.
his job.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, yes, but I was like, okay. First, I was like, I didn't know if they fit. Like, I don't, like again, I'm older. I remember the Big Ten. The Big Ten is more like the SEC. They're a ground and pound, tough nose type deal. The Pac-12 soft cupcake. Throw the ball around a lot. So it's like they don't even really fit. Now, if you're talking about as a fan matchup wise, I mean USC is still a brand, even though they haven't been good. So I love to see Michigan USC on a regular basis, Ohio
Yeah,
State, USC on a regular basis. I think it's gonna be X and O's wise. It's gonna be a real adjustment for
Hmm.
UCLA and USC.
absolutely.
Like, I think I saw somebody on Twitter say, I don't know, the Trojans ain't gonna know what to do when Wisconsin lines up with 3 tight ends and 2 running backs. It's
Right? What the hell are these guys doing?
yeah,
Yeah,
I got a friend who.
look at it like even when Nebraska went to the Big Ten, like we
Yep.
are we are that kind of school, right?
Yep.
But I mean, we have struggled for a lot of other reasons other than that. But I mean, if you, yeah, I don't know. Good luck.
And
That's
and
all I
and
gotta
the
say.
I know, like you can recruit to USC. I think Lincoln Riley is going to
Hmm.
do that. It is LA,
Yeah.
but things like travel matters. It's a reason why a lot of kids stay home to play.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Sometimes those kids, they love their state. They want to put on for the state, but sometimes it's like I want my family to be able to see me play. and sometimes you can lose out on a recruit because you have to play Rutgers in the middle of
Mm.
December. I mean, who's going to Rutgers? I mean, my nephew played at Louisville in the ACC, and I never went to Syracuse. I'm not going. He's like, "Oh, you coming to Syracuse?" No, I'm not coming to Syracuse. It's too far, and it's cold. I'm not going.
Hmm.
And it gets
Yes,
cold.
it
It gets
is.
cold in the Big Ten.
Yeah, that's gonna be
Real
an
cold in the Big
adjustment.
Ten.
I mean, I know it rains a lot in Washington, in Seattle and stuff, but like the Big Ten, it's cold in like middle of October, like snowing cold. Like I don't think they really know about
They
that.
realize what they're getting into. Yeah.
Because I didn't even know until this year, until after they made that announcement. I was talking to a Notre Dame fan. Like when Notre Dame and USC play, if it's at Notre Dame, it's in the middle of the season because of the weather. If it's
Correct.
at USC, it's always the last game because it doesn't matter what time when you play in LA. I'm
Right.
like, well, they're not gonna be able to do that with every team in the Big Ten.
No,
So,
no. Mm-mm.
They're having.
so, I mean, it's college football, man. As a fan, I don't really mind what schools go where. I just want to see the best play the best, just because I like to see good games. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I know the team itself. Of course, if I had my way, I want Georgia to play a whole bunch of cupcakes just to win the championship. But
Oh no, you wouldn't. You wouldn't.
but listen, to win a championship, yes. But as like game week by week, I
Yes.
love the fact. Like I love when Kirby scheduled Texas, scheduled Oklahoma, scheduled
Yes.
Oregon. Like that's what I want to see. I want to see Georgia. I don't want to see Georgia. Listen, man, Nashville is a great place, and the Dogs always take over Vandy Stadium. But it's
I mean, come
Vandy.
on.
Yeah, it's like it's Vandy. It's like I
Right.
don't really. I want to play some of these, big time. I got a college bucket list I'm trying to cross off, man, and it's hard to do that when Georgia's playing somebody else. So that's why I said I'm gonna be in Norman next year. I'm trying to cross Norman off my bucket list.
Hey, I think you'll be pretty amazed from what you see in Norman. Of course, wonderful tailgates all the way from Lord Jesus, Lindsay, all the way down to Highway 9, and of course walks champions and stuff like that. And who knows next year what may happen anyway. So, no,
Yeah,
it's a stadium I highly suggest anyone to come visit. It's a lot of tradition there. So,
yeah. I think the UCLA USC move though, I think it's just a step to having two. Kind of like NFL, you have two
Yeah.
divisions. I don't know, East, West, whatever you want, North,
right.
South, whatever you want to call it. Anywhere from like 48 to 64 teams, and maybe like little divisions. So now you can say, okay, 12-team playoff, whatever. It's like with this new governing board they just came out with, maybe they want to do that. I just don't see Oklahoma and Texas coming to the SEC, USC, UCLA going to the Big Ten. I don't see the Pac-12 and the Big 12 like lasting through that. Like, how are you competing on TV? I know people say, well, this market and this market, but when you got Oklahoma playing Alabama on a regular basis,
Uh-huh.
nothing in the new Big 12 is going to be able to compete with that.
No.
You know what I'm saying? When you got Texas and Florida playing, like, nobody wants to see UCF in Houston. I'm sorry. This is, it's like you go.
Yeah, it is what it is. There's
And
no
it's
reason
about-
to sorry. It just
It's
It's
just like that. I mean, it's about money. And,
Yeah.
when people spend money, they want to see a good product. No matter how much we hate Bama and how much they win, we still watch. Because it's good football.
We're
It's
going to
good
watch great football. Yeah, exactly.
So I just think that's how it's going to end up, man. It's going to be like a East-West type deal. I don't know if it's Big Ten or North-South, Big Ten, SEC. I think that's where we're going. I don't know how long it'll take to get there, but I think that move, further. I thought that when Oklahoma and Texas announced, I was super excited. I was like, God, Oklahoma and Texas coming? I'm like, that's what's up. Now we're going to have some good football. And then they announced going. I'm like, Riley's out there, not for nothing. I know he's not the greatest human being, but he's a good coach.
Absolutely. No, absolutely.
It's like now he's going to be playing against Ryan Day. Talk about some points scored.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm all tuned in. I'm all tuned in.
Ohio State has a new defensive coordinator from Oklahoma State, and I think
Yep.
you'll see a different. I think you'll see a different situation this year.
And see, they get the guys like
They
Oklahoma.
do. They got guys who can play football. So
Yeah, Ohio State and Alabama are the only two schools that have recruited more 5-stars than Georgia, and Ohio State utilizes them. So they always have some guy coming off the edge that's a first-round draft pick. I don't know.
I know they just like breed them in the water there. It's insane.
They do. So
And we've had to play them every year.
Mhm.
For
Yeah.
God knows that is this the first year we don't?
I was about to say, yeah, y'all used to go
I
back and
think this
forth.
might be the first year we don't actually play
I
Ohio
still
State.
remember Baker putting the flag in the O. Like, I was
On
like,
the
look at
O.
this.
Oh
I'm like,
Lord!
look at this dude.
Oh
Oh,
Lord!
that's my boy right
That
there.
caused some.
Listen, Baker. Listen, Baker was for a college football fan. Honestly, Baker was a joy to watch. Listen, when I came up, I talked a lot of trash. So like, Baker was right up my alley. I'm like, because if I was as gifted as those players, I would have been in college talking trash too. So I
Absolutely,
love Baker.
absolutely. I love Baker too. I think he's great. But no, so
I,
I think this is the first year Nebraska does not play Ohio State, and like,
oh,
I mean, and like, we've played them every year. I believe since 20. Gosh, it's probably been since like 2010, 2011. I kid you not.
so with UCLA and USC coming to the Big Ten, how you feeling about that as a Nebraska fan?
I mean, I'm fine with that. I think we, as far as like matchups go, I think I don't, I don't see that. I just see them having a really tough time
Okay.
shifting to the Big Ten. And you know, we were down. We've been down the past 10 years. I'll be the first one to fully admit that. But I have seen a lot of really good things going in the right direction. I've seen more. I've seen better recruiting. I've seen better size, recruiting players that fit more of the Big Ten mold.
Okay.
I really like the offensive hires that we made. I think Scott had to learn a really hard lesson, and that the guys that he brought from UCF just didn't weren't the caliber that he needed
No.
to have on his staff to be able to compete in the Big Ten. And
Yeah.
I feel a real shift in culture and athlete and that willingness to want to win. It
Okay.
feels different with this with with the things that have been said by the
If y'all can
guys
get some
practices and so on and so on. So we'll see.
if y'all can get some decent quarterback play, I think y'all can contend for the Big Ten. I mean, no, it's not even a joke, but
No,
No,
it's
it
like
is
I
true.
thought,
Yeah.
like Martinez came in, and I was like, okay, this dude got it. And then
right?
I don't know, his girlfriend dumped him or something. I don't know.
No,
It's
he
just,
got hurt. So he got hurt sophomore season,
yeah.
midway through sophomore season, and he
He's
just
never
was
been the
not
same.
the same. It wasn't.
And
I like
I,
Casey Thompson. The Here's the good thing. Here's the good thing. We've got guys pushing guys now. You've got Purdy
you
pushing
need it. You
Thompson.
need it.
You've got Thompson pushing Smothers, and then you've got the younger kids that will see that competition. And Adrian didn't have that.
Okay.
So
Yeah, you definitely need competition.
exactly. So I think that is a different. I think that's a different dynamic as well.
Yeah, and I think you hit it. Like that's how the elite teams stay elite because nobody can take a day off. You can lose your position in a couple of practices. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you got to be on your p's and q's. If you asked about UJ's offense to allude back to that, I wonder about that because this year it's Stetson's job regardless. So yes, we have a couple of 5 stars and a high 4 star behind him, but Kirby, it's his job. You know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
not a battle. It's not a oh well if this guy plays good. It's and I wonder about that because Jake Fromm's last year
Ugh,
trash,
trash.
trash, absolute garbage because he knew he didn't have anybody to battle. So when
Right.
Justin Fields was there and Jacob Eason was there, he had to keep them off of his heels. But that 3rd year, man, I was like, man, you just leaving DeAndre Swift out here to dry, bro.
Mm.
It's like, come
He
on,
doesn't
man.
deserve that, man. That man don't
Doing it
deserve
all
that.
dirty. So I'm interested, but I think if you guys get the quarterback play, man, like
Yeah.
I mean, Wisconsin keeps running back, so we know that's gonna be good.
They
But
threw him in the water. That 17-year-old kid, Braylon Allen, that ran all over everybody. Holy mother of God, that kid
bruh,
was big. First of
they
all,
get they
17
just get
years
running
old,
back after
he's
running
built
back
like
after running
freaking
back.
Adrian Peterson in his prime. Like insanity. I'm like,
But
where did
they
you get these guys? Like,
but
where do you all come from?
and something you mentioned about USC and UCLA, like it is gonna be a transition. They gotta recruit differently. Like you can't recruit fast defensive linemen. You gotta recruit some solid, like big uglies, like for real,
Yeah,
when you're going to play against the Wisconsins, Nebraskas, and the Michigans, all of that. Like it's just
they
different
all
ball over here.
all run the ball in the Big Ten. That's just the identity of the Big Ten.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm hopeful that our running back situation is better as well this year. So I think that will help. That will
I
help.
think is Scott Frost is he in hot water at all?
Yeah, I mean it's definitely. I wouldn't say it's a complete make it or break it season, but
Okay.
it's 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 definitely leaning more towards that.
Oh,
Um,
okay. I mean, a
you know,
lot of
I think
speculation goes on down here in the South. We think Scott about to be out, but I'm like, we don't know that.
it's hard to say because they let him hire all the new offensive staff that they let him hire,
Hmm.
and so you have to think with new staff they usually give those new staff and coordinators a couple years, a couple seasons
Facts.
under a new head coach. And Scott's original contract was for 7 years, and
Okay.
people forget about his buyout is is substantial.
I
uh,
mean, and he is like he is like one of the best players they
Hmm.
ever played at Nebraska.
well, I mean, like, let's be honest here,
Hmm.
like, he is the son, like,
Him and Tommy Frazier, and then
it's the
then it
prodigal
stopped.
son returning to Lincoln. Like, we all want it to work. And the
Yeah.
thing is I also think that Trev Alberts also wants the same things, our new athletic director.
Okay.
And I just really see, I just really kind of see, unless it's another, like, honestly, like less than 6-6, then he should be out. I could,
Yeah, I don't see that. I think y'all are a minimum 8 win team. Just to be
yeah,
honest,
I
like I
think
said, the quarterback play has to be atrocious to be 6 wins.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's going to be, I definitely think it's going to be different. And they're like, it was so close last year. I think that was the hardest pill to swallow is we gave football games away last year. We should have been a nine.
Hmm.
We should have at least been a 9-win team
Yeah,
last
a
year.
lot of 3 point losses.
Oh, it was brutal, man. I can't go through that again. My heart can't take it anymore.
Listen, is being a college football fan is like the best and the worst thing at the same time. We're on such an emotional roller coaster all
It's
year.
awful. It's wonderful and awful all in the same breath. So yeah, that's just kind of my outlook on Nebraska.
Okay, okay. Well, that'll be what's up, man.
Well, Coach, I know we were wrapping up, but I appreciate you coming on and taking the time out of your schedule and talking some football. And as always, you're welcome to come back. And hey, we'll talk some more, especially during the season.
That's right, man. Hey, man, I had a blast, man. I appreciate it, man. Shout out again to the OU fans that showed up for me and Mike's video, man. I don't know what the count is now, man, but they was going in hard. I haven't done a lot. Matter of fact, the only other OU game video I did was with you.
The Oregon,
The
Oklahoma,
Oregon,
Alabama. Yep.
yeah, and that one did really good too. So I appreciate it, man. I had fun today.
Hey,
Keep going, Sooner Nation.
you want to do an LSU and a Nebraska one for me?
Oh yeah, we can definitely do that. You know what's crazy? I was going through and I was looking today at the schedule each week, and I said, okay, I'm gonna do about 3 to 4 previews a week. I was like, I want to do LSU, but I don't even know any LSU fans.
Well, hey, you got one
I
more.
would say, yeah, you got, I definitely don't know any besides Jamie on that one.
Yeah, no, I got a friend that I grew up with is an LSU fan, but he's not about to come on the show. He don't even want to. He hardly wants to watch him. It's like
Well,
we're so up and down.
last year was tough. Last year was tough. It was tough. I like the discipline that I'm seeing now.
Okay.
That's what that team needed. That's what that school needed. So, Brian Kelly, for all the nonsense that's happened around the hire and whatnot, I really think he's the right guy for the job. I think that's exactly what LSU needed.
Okay, cool. Well, then I'll definitely reach out to you so we can do something, man. I do want to give a shout out to one of my subscribers, man, Jason King, OU fan. Bruh, he's like today he sent a comment on the video and he was like, he thinks Brent Venables is going to do good, even though he's not walking into a silver plate and he put TBOW. And I was like,
Oh,
who? And I was like, I'm sitting here reading, and I'm like, who
Hmm.
is TBOW? I'm like,
Yep.
and he said he was like Brent Venables never lost to a TBOW offense,
Hmm.
and I'm like, who is
The bitch out
TBOW?
west.
Yes, I was like, I just busted out laughing, man. I was like, I told him, I said, Jason, I'm gonna be on Mike's podcast, and I'm about to give you a shout
Yep.
out, man.
Definitely shout out to him and Coach. Before we leave, how can they find you?
All right, man. You can come to my YouTube channel, The Fan Addict, man, over on YouTube, or you can come to Twitter. It's FanAttic Sports on Twitter and Instagram, and The Fan Addict on Facebook. We release 3 to 4 videos a week, and we do a live stream every Tuesday at 8 o'clock with the former Georgia Bulldogs that played with Kirby Smart and some Bulldogs that just pop in. We had David Green on last night, so.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, David Green was a good guest. We've been doing pretty good with that. So yeah, man.
That's awesome. Well, thanks for coming on. It was great. I had fun
I
time.
appreciate it. I appreciate y'all having me, man. And I'll get with y'all again, man. We can do something later this season.
Most definitely,
Absolutely.
and give him a follow. And hey, Coach, as always, it's been a pleasure. It was fun, and we'll do it again soon.
All right, man. Y'all have a good night.
All right,
Take
you
care,
too. Take care.
everyone. You're listening to the Air Raid Tech Podcast. Have a wonderful, I guess, hump day, and I guess show number 2 is coming on here shortly, and we'll be on here in a bit.
All right, we'll see you guys soon.